So I really don't want to have to return to this topic at all. And I can't believe that I'm having to return to it. But if I'm going to return to it, I would like for something positive to at least come out of it. And the one thing that positive that comes out of it is I have an actual genuine compliment to pay Anita Sarkeesian and company. And I say that with absolute sincerity. And I will get to what that is in a minute. But first I wanted to talk about what's prompting me to make this video. A while ago, as many of you know, I issued an apology to Anita Sarkeesian for literally everything anything that I had anything to do with in reference to her, all of it. It was absolutely not well received by people on quote-unquote my side, and I don't care. It's what needed to be said, and I stand by it. I made it a point that I would not respond to any comments that came in on that video because I did not want to get involved in any more drama bullshit around this topic. And I thought I'd made myself extraordinarily clear that I didn't want to be involved in this topic anymore. Then I started getting longtime viewers to my channel who started trying to send me new bullshit that they had apparently uncovered about Anita Sarkeesian, or new things that they had discovered, new things that they had found, saying, "Oh, dude, you think Anita Sarkeesian's not that bad? Look at this." And over again, I kept having to tell people that were longtime viewers of my channel, longtime fans of mine, people who had interacted with me, some of them even interacted with me personally, people that I know are not doing it to troll, people that were acting with sincerity. I had to go and tell them, look, I'm done with this topic. I don't want to be connected to this topic anymore. I do not wish to revisit this. This is far and away the most abject, pathetic, worthless failure of my entire life that haunts me like a daily shroud, a dark cloud over my head. I don't want to be reminded of it, thank you very much. And I even made a video as such, proclaiming that as such. Now, I understand that I would understand if the person doing it were trying to be an asshole, if they were trying to be a troll, if they were trying to be a jerk, a jackass, they were trying to bother me or bother Anita Sarkeesian. I would understand them ignoring my request then. But when it is longtime viewers of my channel, people who I have allowed myself to think had my best interest at heart, people who I thought sincerely gave a damn about me and about my desires and my feelings and my interests, when they keep doing it, that really gets under my skin. And today I had to do this. I had to deal with this again because I had a user on Twitter, that's someone that is, again, a long time follower of my stuff. And referenced a tweet that I had posted about Anita Sarkeesian in 2013, almost 9 years ago. Had pulled up this tweet. How do you even remember what this tweet was? Why have you held on to this piece of information for 9 years? How have you held on to this piece of information? The idea that I had forgotten that this tweet even occurred, and that this tweet was even made. I did not. I did not remember making this statement or this argument or anything like that. I had forgotten about it, and yet somehow you, sir or madam, have held on to this tweet or the memory of this tweet, and you referenced it and you brought it up in a discussion you were having with somebody about Anita Sarkeesian, trying to further tar her name and her interests and her reputation and all of that. And it's just amazing to me. You who made that post are going to remember, are going to what you're going to watch this video. You're going to see this video. I know you will, especially because I'm going to send it to you. But even if I did not, you would see this video. And I'm sure you've seen all of the other videos, and you know how I feel about this. Why would you bring me into a discussion? Why would you reference me as your go-to source for trash about Anita Sarkeesian when you know full damn well that's not what I want? And the first time I did this, the first time I did a video previously called Stop Sending Sarkeesian Stuff to Me. And in that video, I clarified that both of the people I was making the video in response to were people that I knew were neurodivergent. They had cognitive issues that probably prevented them from understanding that I didn't want to be a part of this discussion anymore. I don't know if that's the case with you. Maybe it is. But please, please understand, on no uncertain terms, that this is not something I want to have anything to do with. And I honestly cannot believe that you went and got a tweet I made 9 years ago to enter into this argument. This argument is totally worthless, totally stupid. Even, put it this way, even if your worst feelings about Anita Sarkeesian were accurate and justified, so what? Who cares? And I wish to God I had come to that clarity 9 years ago when I made that, or before making that tweet. Of course, if I could go back and redress everything, all of my regrets in life, knowing what I know now, I would never have started a YouTube presence in the first place. Or if I did, I would have stayed out of politics and just put up guitar videos and shit like that. Anyway, all of that aside, when I saw that, I thought, well, if this whole cycle of discussion is starting again, maybe there's been some sort of major incident that I need to make myself aware of. So I've made it a very conscious effort to ignore everything having to do with Anita Sarkeesian and everybody associated with her ever since I made the apology video. Over and done. Gone. Nothing. And that has done a great deal of positive good for me, because I'm not thinking about it. I'm not worrying about it anymore. But, what I was thinking was, God forbid, there's been some other major catastrophe, and all of that crap is from 9 years ago, 8-9 years ago, is going to start getting dredged up again. I looked at her page, looked at her page, looked at some of the associated stuff. I didn't see anything particularly noteworthy. So there's no major problems going on, or no major issues I need to be aware of or deal with. Anyway, but I did see one thing that I thought was very positive, and it's something that I want to acknowledge because as people have been nice enough to acknowledge evolution in my character over the years, I feel like it is appropriate to do the same when it comes along in someone else, especially someone I've criticized. And what I saw was something very commendable and something that I really, really like. Now, one thing I should say, that I don't think I've ever talked about this much, but there actually is one Feminist Frequency video that I agree with wholeheartedly. I agree with it 100%, and that is the video on crisis pregnancy centers. Crisis pregnancy centers, if you don't know, are these entities that project themselves, advertise themselves as being family planning centers where contraceptives and STD screening and abortions and all other matters of sexual health are available to women and they go into they'll specifically target impoverished neighborhoods and that kind of thing. They go to, but they present themselves as being a sexual health resource for women. And then when the women get through the door and actually sit down in the back room, it is suddenly revealed to the women that the center in question was not actually a family planning center. It has nothing at all to do with sexual health. Instead, it is a front for an evangelical outreach ministry that is trying to convince women not to have abortions. Those centers are lies, they are false advertising, and in some cases where they have refused to let women leave until the women in question promise not to have an abortion, they are guilty of kidnapping. The whole thing, the whole operation should be shut down. I agree with her wholeheartedly on that topic. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to say was that I was aware a while back that Anita had moved her operation into the realm of setting up a hotline, a service for people to call when they've experienced online harassment, be it cyberstalking, cyberbullying, harassment in the course of playing online games, that sort of thing. If they've been targeted or mistreated in some way, it's an emotional support line for people. That is good in and of itself. That's a proactive step towards doing something that really is going to directly benefit people on the ground who need that help. Now, the only possible concern, the only possible issue I could take with that, and this is only a hypothetical, I'm not saying that this is an actual issue at all, but in any case where something like this is being set up, I would want to be sure that the people getting hired to work on to answer the phones are definitely highly qualified people that really know what they're doing and really know their game and everything, because in the event that you get somebody that's on the verge of suicide, somebody with severe mental impairment, things like that, you need people that can act knowing how to properly handle and help that individual. That would be, and I'm not saying that Sarkeesian and company do not have such people. I've not looked into it. I'm not going to look into it. All I would say is that is the only reasonable concern I could ever think of in something like that. I think the concept in and of itself is a fundamentally good thing. But that's not what the compliment I wanted to pay. The compliment I wanted to pay was that I noticed that this service she has set up is offering guides and outreach to people who may not understand the difference between good-natured fun and online harassment. And when I saw that, I thought that is fantastic. And the reason I thought that was fantastic is because, as I've been talking about in some of my recent videos, I am a person on the autism spectrum. I have lived in denial about that for many, many years. I should say public denial about it, in that I've not been terribly open about it. I've known about it since college, and was diagnosed in college. But I've not been as public about it because there's tremendous stigma associated with it. But as I've started to talk more and more about autism and autism-related issues, I've started to see ways in which I can start to use this channel and this commentary as a source of good for people. And one of the things that occurs to me looking back on all of that bullshit from that time period, where everybody on every side of the discussion was extremely tightly wound, and we were getting pissed off by every single thing every person was saying, was that there was not an acknowledgement of a gray area where people could fuck up. There was not, and I say this, by the way, I'm not saying this this was true of both sides. True of both sides. There was no middle ground where people could fuck up. You were either you either were flawless in your online presence, or you were a vile human being with absolutely no middle ground. But putting together a resource like this that acknowledges that people may have difficulty understanding at times the difference between good-natured fun and online harassment is extremely important, especially for neurodivergent people. Just like, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there are going to be people out there, as irritated as I visibly was in talking about all of that, there are going to be people out there who don't understand what I wanted them to do when I was expressing my opinions and my I guess you would say, reformed opinion on Sarkeesian and all of that, that they genuinely don't understand why I was making that point or what I wanted out of them going forward, which was to not be a part of any of this anymore. It's that kind of thing. Were those people trying to harass me? No. Was the person today trying to harass me? No. But they don't realize the effect that what they do is of what they do, and what that's the effect that has on people. And but more to the point, I've done a number of videos recently talking about the recent controversy around Chris Chan and my ideas on how to prevent the next Chris Chan. And one of the things that I talked about was that in my life, being on the spectrum myself, I've had several situations where I've encountered other autistic persons that fit a profile similar to Chris Chan, and not all, by a very long shot, not all of the autistic people that I've encountered are like that. Far from it, but I have encountered a number that fit the Chris Chan profile in my own life, such that I've wanted to say, it's enough for me to say, look, we need to think about the real life forces that are combining to create these people, the combination of nature and nurture that is creating people like Chris Chan that become lifelong victims of the internet. And in doing that, I talked about one individual who, unfortunately, a few years ago, got very attached to me, was a very Chris Chan-like individual, and began interacting with me very directly. And eventually, I just had to, not on the internet, in my own physical life. It was very much a situation like Chris Chan with Robert and Barb Chandler, where the parents were completely out to lunch. They're indulging their child's every bizarre whim, and like Chris Chan, this guy who was an adult male, but he had basically the mind of a child, and could not he had very aberrant sexual interests that he could not shut up about. A number of anger control issues, and a lot of other very creepy, very disturbing things that I ultimately just had to put up boundaries and say, for my own well-being, I can't be associated with this person anymore. And so, knowing that, I've used that person as an example of my interacting with a Chris Chan-like individual in my life. And one of the things that guy told me one time was that he liked a radio podcast called True Capitalist Radio. I had never heard of this thing. But he started laughing because he's telling me how much he liked True Capitalist Radio, that it was so funny. And I just kind of nodded along, but that seemed very bizarre to me, because True Capitalist Radio, I was like, is this a comedy program or something? And is it like some kind of sophisticated economics humor or something? Or is it a real economics program? Could he even understand something like that? And I was very curious that he thought this program was funny. And so I looked it up. I'd never heard of it, but I looked it up, and it was hosted by a guy named, I think it was Ghost was the handle of the person. And so I looked into it, and I found out that it was not meant to be funny. It was not meant to be a comedy program. This Ghost person was what the internet refers to as a lolcow, meaning that it was very easy for people would call into the program and say things that would get under his skin, And he would flip out and get angry and lose his temper and have very bizarre, disturbing reactions very easily. And it was very easy to provoke this individual into acting in a strange and bizarre manner, and for kicks. And so people would do this. They would harass him in this manner because he was extremely thin-skinned, because he apparently, this is what I read about it. I didn't listen to the actual program. But apparently because he was so thin-skinned, people would call in and say things to push his buttons and get a reaction out of him, get a rise, so that they could laugh at him. And that young man, I realized in him saying that he thought that show was funny, he did not understand, was not capable of understanding that this program was not meant to be funny. That this person, this individual that was being targeted with this sort of thing, was that these people were trolling this individual and trying to get a rise out of him to laugh at him. People were not laughing with him. This was not a character that he was performing. These people really were taking advantage of an emotionally unstable person. And so I bring all of that up because this is a recognition of progress in terms of the discussion around this topic, around online harassment. Rather than presenting people who are harassers or trolls or what have you as a unilaterally motivated group, it helps to provide resources for the people like the person I was describing, who did not understand, who truly did not understand the abuse that was going on in that situation. And this is good. This is how we make progress. Because the thing is, my belief is that for every one genuinely sociopathic person that's motivated by that is motivated by a truly malicious intent to harm other human beings, you've got probably 20, 30, 40, 50 more people who are more in the gray zone, who, like that guy, don't understand what was going on. Or they are young, they're incredibly young and don't have the life experience to really know the harm that they're causing. Or or any number of other reasons. There are degrees of this. And the more that you can provide resources for, and the more you can reach those people, the people that are more and more in the gray zone, the more and more you can reach those people, the more you can separate them from the genuinely sociopathic, malicious individuals. I read, I think it was in The Sociopath Next Door, where they said, I think it's 4 out of every 100 people or 1 out of every 25 people is a sociopath or a psychopath. And so let's get the 24 people that are not, let's find ways to reach the 24 people that are not psychopathic. Let's find the ways to separate them from the sociopathic person, from that sort of thing. And and in a way, I hate to use this metaphor because it's a Trump metaphor, and I don't want anything associated with that, but it's a relatively astute way of describing it, is drain the swamp. Get, the internet being the swamp, let's start draining the swamp. And the way we start draining that swamp is to start reaching people and start encouraging people to be better, and reaching them and helping them understand in a more benevolent way, and a more polite and not polite, but a more reasonable, even-handed way that acknowledges that this is a person who is on their own journey of life and may need help to stop going down a very dark road. I did an interview recently with another YouTube user who was themselves an avowed communist. A number of people have heard me talk about it. It was the interview I did with Valium Sad Femme McGirlboss. It's a long internet handle. Anyway, but Val, in retrospect, was wondering, when I talk about helping, reaching people with mental health issues, and that's in trying to dialogue with people and meet people halfway before, so that they don't go to the extremes. Val was wondering if what I meant was that, like, when the Gestapo are kicking down your door, you should try to, like, politely reason with those people. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how do we reach people before they ever get to the point of being the Gestapo that kicks down your door. And so I think that's a fundamentally positive thing. And I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad that it's being done. I'm glad it's being addressed that way. I'm not going to look further into whether or not, I'm not going to look deeper into that aspect of their outreach, because I don't want to get deeper involved than what I've already said. I do think it's on the right track, and I want to acknowledge that. And I want to, and obviously also use that as an opportunity to once again try to get across to people that I do not want to be a part of this discussion anymore. Don't go, please, please. In that video with Val that I encouraged everybody, that interview with Val that I encouraged everybody to watch, we talked about the long-term psychological effects of having people dig into your past and maintain things you said 9 or 10 years ago as if they are eternal set in stone proclamations that summarize the entirety of your thought process for your entire life. We talked about the deleterious effect of that, and you do exactly that. And I'm only angry about it because you are somebody that I think I have always assumed was I don't want to say on my side, but was a genuine supporter of mine, and not concerned, saw the better in me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I will say it again to the hearing of everybody that can hear what I'm trying to say, that sees this video. I am far from being a supporter of Anita Sarkeesian. I am not. That's not. There are many things about Sarkeesian and I that would keep us fundamentally divided in terms of our political beliefs and that sort of thing. But I do think it is the right and honorable thing to do. One, to acknowledge when I find myself in the wrong, and two, to acknowledge when somebody is doing something where they are on the right track. Many people have had the kindness and the grace to extend that to me, and I feel that it's appropriate to extend it back to others. However, that said, that's not to suggest that that's not to suggest that I am en route to becoming some kind of third wave feminist or something like that. That's not something I'm interested in. But it's just acknowledging on a human level when things are done right. And I've gotten a lot of blowback from people who had a problem with me extending that apology. And like I said, I'm not going to get into individual debates with people about all of that. If you're upset about it, like I said, it was me apologizing to her, not you. And your belligerent, angry response only justifies why I did what I did. Anyway, hopefully we can move forward on high and blue tomorrows.